Well, welcome to another Workshop Wednesday brought to you by School of Bookkeeping, where it's casual conversations for serious workflows. And today we have a casual conversation and some serious workflows converging
Yes.
because Rachel has always expressed her excitement over inventory stuff. Tell us a little bit about your background in inventory management.
So, yeah, I always have kind of worked early on, I worked for companies that dealt in services, but for the most part, I've always worked in companies that sold goods. So, I'm very familiar with the movement of selling product. So, it's something that can be really complicated, but with all these incredible reports and tools and things that we help our clients with, it actually can be fun and manageable and something that anybody can do.
Now we're going to talk about a specific concept of inventory, and this kind of falls into the what took you so long, QuickBooks, to to get this report of inventory turnover. So
Mm,
as the the accountant in the room, or at least someone who's actually going for their master's in accounting, uh, one of us is, and you get three yeses, and the first two don't count. But what would be the textbook definition of inventory turnover?
yeah. So, and actually, that's so funny that we're talking about this today because in my portal, my school portal, one of I'm in the second week right now, but one of our assignments this week is to talk about some of those concepts because I'm one of the classes is advanced reporting, and something that is really important in the world of inventory is inventory turnover. And if you think about it, it's really how quickly can I turn that inventory over, meaning from purchasing, and let's say you're manufacturing. So purchasing, manufacturing the item to listing it for sale to selling it. That's really the whole process. So how many times can you do that throughout the year? So some people manufacture really quick and they can turn it over several different times.
Mhm.
Other people have a longer process, and we're actually taking on a client that has a much longer process because they're actually manufacturing some metal things. So maybe they can only turn it over like 2.5 times a year. People that are we've talked about this term before, reselling goods. They're buying things, holding them in inventory, and then selling them. So they're not manufacturing anything. They're buying finished goods and selling them. Those folks can usually turn things over much more quickly.
All
So
right.
there's all kinds of different things to consider in a business where you're selling stuff. Do I want to make it? Do I want to have somebody else make it and I just buy it finished? There's a lot of different questions involved.
All right. So in this case, high turnover is a good thing
Yes.
because you're talking about in a period of time, how many times did I turn over the stock that I purchased,
Yes.
right? So this is, I mean, the ultimate reading, right? Like is either a ratio or a
Yep.
number of
Yep.
days that it takes
Yep.
to do
So
that.
if I said my inventory turned over at a factor of like 2.5, it means that it's turning over 2.5 times per year. And this is such an important topic because we want a report that's going to tell us that. And that needs to come out of, where all your inventory movements are. And so you have to be able to look at that because there's a lot of folks that want to know how fast are you turning over that inventory? And so a lot of companies have people they have to answer to. So,
Right. Because you want the sweet spot of purchasing and sales to align. I mean,
yes.
I remember I went to Dell Computer. This was like in the height of Intuit had sent me to Dell because they were actually a hardware partner of QuickBooks Point of Sale back in the mid aughts, right? Like
Mhm. Is that what we're calling it?
2005.
The aughts?
Yeah, 2005-ish
Mhm.
type of thing. But Dell Computer was
Yes.
the height of the envy of the
Oh,
computing industry, right?
that was the thing. Yeah.
They had their campus in Texas, and it was
Mhm.
really cool to experience that. But the guy walking me around was like, "There's where everything is manufactured." And they had perfected, Dell Computer had perfected this whole idea of just in time inventory,
Yes.
where basically they had timed it where somebody's ordering something and it's getting manufactured at that moment, like which it's just like the perfect cross section of
Yes.
supply and demand, right?
Yep.
So
And that's
and
actually a really good, that's a newer phenomenon brought
yeah,
on really in the 21st century. It really wasn't a thing before.
yeah,
And I have a really funny story to tell you because my husband works for General Motors. And way back in the day, before they would analyze the data, they would go on gut. That's how they would manufacture how
wow,
many vehicles, per production they would do. They would really just estimate on gut
right,
thinking, oh, well, now, of course, they don't do that. And so just in time is really, really, if you're able to pull that off, you're doing a good job if you can do just
yeah.
in time manufacturing.
Yeah, and he was telling me like they had it so down to a science that
Yes.
they sold parking spaces for trucks. And so like they would have premium parking spaces for the parts manufacturers
Wow.
that they would sell. So there
Yeah.
was actually a revenue generator of like, hey,
Yeah.
you want your part in our computer? Um, Pay for this parking so that when it comes time to unload your components, you're right there. And
That's
I
something
thought
I
that
would pay for. I'm a big fan of premium parking.
right, and premium parking for a semi tractor trailer is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not just like those compact spaces where you see people fit their SUVs.
Yeah.
So turnover is something for an inventory speak is something that's relatively useful, right? Because then you have an idea of, okay, how fast is this item or items turning over in a period of time, and so is there shipping delays, getting that's all factoring in part of that knowledge of knowing how often during a period of time that an inventory is turned over.
Yeah.
So we created a blog article for you because guess what? Intuit makes it pretty hard to find all this information. so so I thought, hey, why not just make a place on school bookkeeping that will have one stop shop. So here we have our our blog. I put it in the chat in the comments so that you'd be able to access it. Um, but it's got an idea of what the inventory turnover report is, how to access it, and those sorts of things. And Intuit has actually created an inventory calculator with an explanation of what it is. Nope, that's the wrong. I need to update the link because that's got the YouTube video that not the which is already here. So so there's an article in there. I gotta update the links in there. But they've created a calculator and a definition of what that is. Let me see. I think I might have it up here in. I do. There it is. So this article has a calculator of how you can do this manually if you wanted to, and it's basically you would enter the total costs involved in selling your products, your cost of goods sold, for you can do it in the grand scheme of things of all your items or one particular item in general, and then calculate your average inventory cost for the year by adding 12 months of ending inventory balances together and dividing by 12. Well, that is a lot, right? Like
Mhm.
you're going to need to run these reports, your inventory valuation report for these particular items, see what the ending inventory balance is on a particular day, and then get that average over 12-month period or whatever period of time you're typically looking for. Now, Rachel, is it typically something that's done at the end of the year, or always a year look back, or is there a particular time period that's more useful for others, or in most cases, like when we ask these types of questions, is the answer it depends?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, it really like, I would say probably quarter end and year end and that type of thing. Or if anybody maybe in management is asking at a particular time, you can kind of pull that whenever because they're on demand reports. Um, I tend to use some, I'm not an expert at desktop enterprise. You definitely are, but even if you're doing this in the cloud with other solutions, they all have this kind of reporting and it's just on demand. You can kind of pull it, but I would say, yeah, I mean, as part of accounting period ending dates would be really when you want to look at that.
Right. And there's a nice talk about what inventory turnover is and how it's calculated and the different methods. And there's actually two different methods of calculating, but QuickBooks will use the cost of goods sold method. So um, the one method is your cost of goods sold divided by your average inventory, and that's what the calculator is pointing to. But another method is your sales divided by your average inventory. So it's whether you're basing it off of your revenue or
Mhm.
whether you're basing it off of your cost of goods sold. Do you have, Rachel, a preferred method to of which to calculate, or which would be the more accurate
Um,
version of calculating that?
well, they're definitely going to give you the same result. I mean, you have to also assume that you're always using accrual accounting. You have to with cost of goods sold. But probably method two. But I mean, you could get the same result by using method
Yeah,
one.
yeah. The what it says here in the different options, but it says, but wait, that's different. That's a different than the number of the first formula it gave me. So which would you use? Both of these equations have their pros and cons, but the first is to calculate the overall picture. But why is it you using the cost of goods sold method a little bit more accurate? Because if you're basing it off of your sales, right, then you've got things like non discounts and things, maybe you're doing that sort of thing. So if it's not the same price all the whole year through, that's not going to be as much of an accurate depiction of how fast that is being turned over, or what rate that's being turned over, than cost of goods sold, because
Oh, that's a really,
that
really
is
good explanation. Thank you for that.
that's a static number to you as a business owner.
Mhm.
What's in your cost of goods sold.
Yeah.
But that means, that you have to be calculating the cost of these items accurately, right? And making sure you're understanding where QuickBooks is getting these numbers from. So
Mm.
let's take a look at where QuickBooks is getting these from. Now, this is the caveat here. This is only QuickBooks Desktop, and this is only QuickBooks Enterprise, and this is only QuickBooks Enterprise 2024. Now, what I couldn't find out is that whether or not this is a particular flavor of QuickBooks Enterprise. Everywhere that I looked to just mentioned Enterprise 2024 release 7 and above. So that tells me that this should be any version of QuickBooks Enterprise 2024 R7 or above. So it doesn't matter if you're silver, gold, platinum, diamond, whatever precious metal you might be having of Enterprise, but it does need to be the 2024 version and updated. And how do you tell what release you're on? Is you press Control 1 when you're in QuickBooks. Sorry, this is so tiny. but I can make it a little bigger. And so up here at the top, it's got your Intuit QuickBooks Enterprise Solutions 24 release R8P. So I'm greater than 2024 R7 by having that. Hopefully I don't mess things up here. There we go. So that's how you tell if you're not on, if you're on 2023, sorry, this report's not going to be here. If you're on 2024 R6, then you're not going to see this report here either. So you do want to make sure that you're downloading the latest and greatest version of Enterprise. So to get to this report, once you've activated your inventory, then you'll be able to see this report under the inventory reports. You've got this inventory turnover by item. Shows you a little bit of the snapshot of what you'll get out of that. You'll understand how your items are selling. You'll see the number of days it takes to sell the item, and make better business decisions based off of that, which is the whole idea of reports anyway, is to get some information and see, make some insights from that. Right. So this lists out all the inventory items. There's a drop down up here at the top where you can choose specific items. You can choose multiple items on here if you want to filter them. But as I sent this out to Hector, and Hector responded that this was, with his insights, because he's already looked at this as well. This report is kind of like, it is what it is, right? So if you go to customize this report, your display options are, you got a date to choose from. You don't have much. You can't add columns or take them away. You can actually take away columns by doing this little mouse dance here, by grabbing one and dragging it to close the item. So that removes the columns. You can move the column around if you want, or at least I thought you could. Yes, you can. So I'm going to close it and bring up the default report again, because now I've messed it up, because you can't put it back, because obviously you've removed the column. You can't put it back. By running the report again.
There's no undo.
Yeah, you can't go back to customize the report to add the column back in.
Oh, okay.
So I guess you could hit revert, but didn't notice that. But here we have, let me make this a little bigger so we can actually see it. The two columns that we're looking for in question here are this turnover ratio and turnover days. So this is the sample company, so don't get alarmed by the future dates here of 1/1/2029 and 12/31/2029. So the sample company is future dated. But here, this item, make this a little bigger. We've got a pool cover, right? In the description, and the turnover ratio is 1.03. And in that date range, it took 354 days to turn over the amount that we have. Here's our cost per unit, our sales price. Oops, I'm trying to get to a place where I can scroll. Oh, I can use the keyboard shortcut. And then we've got the quantity on hand, your reorder point, your minimum and maximum. There's your cost of goods, the closing stock, and there's more columns, and I can't get to them. Okay, so we're gonna resize again. And there we go. So then we've got the opening stock, purchases during that time period, and then that gives us, it's calculating the average inventory. Now, typically with most inventory or most reports inside of QuickBooks, you can quick zoom on them to get to those detail reports as to where those came from. Unfortunately, with this report, you don't have that luxury, right? You can quick zoom on it, but all it does is bring up the edit of the item that you happen to click on. So if you needed to make some changes to modify where these this where these numbers might be pulling from. You could or change your account, or anything like that that you can do with editing items inside of QuickBooks Desktop. But you can't confirm your cost of goods sold, this cost of goods sold number. So if I wanted to confirm, you know, my cost of goods sold during this time period for this particular item of $11,179.97, well, you're out of luck there. So
You can't click on that and it'll go to that. You got to
no,
actually go into your P&L and look at it that way.
yeah, yeah, you'd have to run a report on that particular item, like maybe a quick report or an inventory valuation filter for that particular item,
Okay. Okay.
which now adds more more steps to
Yeah.
even
More
confirm
steps.
that. But the report itself is doing what it's supposed to do because
Yeah.
it will figure out the cost of goods sold for that time period, and then divide it. It will do that mathing of getting your average inventory during that time period, and then do the calculation. So if we use the
And
our
it's doing
trusty,
method 2. Yeah.
right, it is doing method two, which is dividing your cost of goods sold by your
Your
average
average
inventory.
inventory.
So if I did that of 11,001 by 97 cents divided by the average inventory of 10,817 and 52, I get 1.03350. Right.
Yeah.
So there's my turnover ratio of 1.03 listed there.
Well, and then
Um,
you can see it's also what 354 days. So that makes sense that 1.03
mhm.
is about just shy of a full year. So I
Yeah.
mean it's you're just a little bit better than that full year. So
Right.
that's what like that is
Right. So
representing.
that's, yeah, and that's telling, and you can see each item has
Mm-hmm.
a different number. So if these items are related, if you're looking at all of your pool covers, you've got different styles and those types of things. You can see, well, maybe this one's selling better than others,
Yeah.
um, and then just making sure, because the thing is that you don't want inventory just
No.
sitting around not being moved, right? So
Yeah, this is
um,
really great that you can see your top sellers and make your adjustments accordingly.
And oh, I was wondering, can I sort by? Yes, you can sort by. Yes, you can sort by the turnover ratio or the days. So then you can see. Um, oh, let's do it that way. So there's our pulley bracket is got a turnover
We've got a
ratio of
few things
2.
we got to get rid of.
Yeah, we've got a lot of zeros in here. But that's where we would get some insights from this report. It's like,
Yeah.
why are these things not turning over? And then that will lead us to other options, or other reports to glean that insight as to why.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I was
it.
referring to the thing sitting there for what 18,000 days.
Oh yeah, yeah, my 4-inch drum. What is- yeah, so apparently there's not a big draw on aluminum 4-inch drums. But it also give you, insight into, well, how much is this costing you
Yeah.
for it to sit there for 18,200 days. So that's good, and that's what this will give you an idea of, like, okay, it's going to take you 18,200 days to turn over this inventory, um, which will be a long time, right? Like, maybe that's appropriate for this type of item, or maybe it's not, right? So there's always the depends factor when it comes to, is this number good or bad for my business? Well, that really just depends on the types of inventory that you're selling, the type of business that you're in. But typically, like you had mentioned, Rachel, a high turnover is preferred, because that means that you are turning over that inventory throughout that period of time, and how many times that is. So that will dictate your purchasing decisions. So again, you have that sweet spot of purchasing and sales coexisting, and the last thing that you want is stuff sitting on the shelf that's not being sold, or stuff that's being sold that's not on the shelf. those would be bad.
Yeah.
So again, so there's this report, but it's only in enterprise and it's only in 2024. And with that, we have a
So this
challenge.
wasn't in there before,
No, this was just released in release 7 of 2024.
but there
One
was
thing,
some kind of inventory days report, though, wasn't there?
yeah, there's
Yeah, because I've pulled that report before.
yes, if you have your advanced inventory. So this again would then now be for platinum and diamond versions of QuickBooks, where you would have the advanced inventory function, and you have to have FIFO turned on in order to see this report. So I just wanted to double check and make sure that it was there. But to your point, under your inventory report, you've got the inventory aging report, summary, and detail. So this will give you the average days in stock for each particular item, what's current, and this is kind of very similar to like your AR aging or your AP aging. But one unique faction of this report is that the numbers in here on the date ranges are dollars as opposed to quantity. So it won't give you the idea. It'll give you the idea of the dollars of what's in stock and how long that's been sitting there. So these two reports are super helpful in determining, well, how old is your inventory and how frequently are you running through it? Because you may have a seasonal business, and that may pose a unique challenge to you as well. But one thing that we want to chat about with regards to enterprise is the end of the month. We talked about this a little bit on a prior workshop. The, the pricing changes that Intuit has announced in June. Part of that is the discontinuation of discounts for enterprise, and that is going to stop. As of today, is it's going to stop at the end of this month. So September 30th, 2024, they are removing any like long-term pro advisor discount from enterprise subscription. So if you're a QuickBooks Pro advisor and you refer your client to purchase enterprise, those discounts will cease to exist on new subscriptions after September 30th of this year. So if you want to take advantage of this report and you want to take advantage of the discount, please do so before the end of this month, because they will still honor the discount for as long as you have an active subscription, as long as that subscription was started before the end of the month. So I've placed some links in there, and we've also got a QR code here, so you can just check. Let's see here. So if you wanted to order enterprise, you can click on that or snap a QR code there, and then that will take you out to a place to show you how to order that so that you take advantage of that discount. Any thoughts, Rachel, on this report or this function or feature of QuickBooks Enterprise?
No, it's cool that they added this. It's very helpful. I don't really use Enterprise, but there's a lot of folks out there that do, and I mean, this is definitely a really helpful tool.
Yeah. So this was something that was never in QuickBooks. Like you don't have. I mean, this is a brand new report. You never had this function in any version of QuickBooks. So to see it come into to enterprise and a QuickBooks product is again one of those, what took you so long to get here?
Yeah. It's nice that they
But
did it because, with them sunsetting all the other desktop products, it's kind of nice that they're adding something, such an advanced function in Desktop Enterprise. It kind of makes like a little signal of, this product's going to stick around.
yeah, well, that remains to be seen.
Well, at least for a while.
Right. I mean, they wouldn't put this in
Yeah,
if it didn't have a need
yeah.
to do that. Because there's quite the. I'm going to turn off the stop sharing here. Um, and of course, here we go again with the size of huge, huge. There we are. But yeah, that leads to the discussion of, all right, well, what's the fate of QuickBooks Desktop? It's really hard to find, like, to their point, right? To find this article about this feature, um, you know, you could type in the actual uh, title in Google, and it still doesn't come up, right? Like, you have to kind of like know what you're looking for in order to find it.
What do you mean title? What did you put in Google?
This well, just use the inventory. Let me share my screen again. This article here of
Oh.
what the report, what insights you get from the report, how it's
Uh-huh.
being calculated, how do you activate it. It's available from, if you it's kind of backwards. Right? So I can get this article from within QuickBooks by clicking on find out more about this report, but I have to get to the report in order to see this article, right?
Yeah.
So like the discovery process of this is not here. You have this discovery hub, right, which will give you the what's new, right? And this is where the turnover report is, and it'll take you there, right? But unless you know what you're looking for, it's really hard to find. And then this report out on the interwebs is not really available unless you find it specifically.
Wow.
Because you could type in, use the inventory turnover report. Well, now I'm gonna put it to the test here. If I Googled that, the first one that comes up is a video. Right? This is
Hmm.
not the article.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I use the actual article title, and I find
Wow.
other
Yeah.
I don't find that particular one. So either
Yeah,
this
but
is
there's been
a
other times where I have tried to find things in QuickBooks, articles and stuff in there, and sometimes it's not always easy to find.
yeah, yeah. So that's what we've done on the blog, is to kind of put everything in one place, assuming I've linked to the right place. So I got to double check that. But that's what we've kind of done there for you. We'll take this conversation and put it up there as well. So again, you'll have all things inventory turnover in one place. So um, appreciate you joining us for
Hot topic.
right. And we appreciate you joining us for yet another Workshop Wednesday. And wait a minute. I wanted to. Hey, this didn't make it so huge. Um, so we're the same size again. Um, so next week we're going to talk a little bit about the shipping labels in QuickBooks Online. So we had talked about shipments and fulfillment and those types of things in the e-commerce fundamentals that we were talking about. But now QuickBooks Online has the ability to manage or print shipping labels.
Nice.
Get from within QuickBooks Online. So we'll talk a little bit about that next week. And any other thoughts, Rachel, on what's going on or what we talked about today?
Nope.
All right. So we'll see you next week on the Workshop Wednesday, and hope you have a great day.